Hello, Wait. Okay, good. My bed is still messy. Hello, Exiles. How are you doing? I was actually just getting ready to cook up kind of a follow-up video to my... I think dumpster fire is a pretty good word for that previous one. Uh, for those who don't know, and for the 3,100, probably more now, people who do, that I saw last time I checked the view count, I made a video kind of discussing Johnathan's own video, kind of informing people about the situation with Poe 1. I was very critical of what happened there. Some people very much so disagreed with me and went to personal attacks, and I enjoyed all of them. Thank you so much. I honestly like, honestly, like, if you weren't even making fun of me in the last one, make fun of me in this one. Do it. It's fun to read it. I love to see the stuff people comes up with. I think my favorite one was like the neck, the hair on his neck, which, to be fair, my hair was pretty ratty when I made that video. I should have done something about it, but man, I was side splitting, honestly. But today's a good day. Today's a much better day than that day. We have very good news today. We're gonna start with that right away. We got an update on Path of Exile 1, and let's be real. The number one thing people were asking questions about, it was, why isn't Grinding Gear Games doing something in Path of Exile, right? It doesn't make sense. Why not some sort of temporary league? Why not a 1 month event? Why not another kind of Necro Settlers thing with another league? And I have to be honest, what they came back with is much better than that. It's like they could have come back with any of those, and honestly, I would have been happy. I would have probably made this video anyways, because the only thing better than starting a fire when you're upset is putting one out when you've calmed down. And yeah, they this isn't doing the right thing. This is an apology. This is a sincere apology. This is part of what makes Grinding Gear Games such a fantastic company. What we're getting, for those of you who don't know, they have agreed to give us kind of a 1 month event that they've set aside some resources. They found some developers who can be freed up to work on this, which, come on. I mean, we knew they had them. We knew it was a conscious choice for them to do nothing for Path of Exile 1, and when they found out that there really were enough people who were that enthusiastic about Path of Exile 1, they were like, okay, well, that's silly, let's do something. And what they're doing is very cool, as they described it. This is a compilation of some of their more unhinged ideas. Essentially, all 19 Ascendancy classes in the original Path of Exile game, gone. Not permanently, it's for the 1 month thing. It'll probably be voided, meaning your characters will like kind of exist in effigy if you want them to from this event, but they won't merge with standard because the impact on the economy might be too much even for those guys. And that's saying something. I don't know for sure that it's going to be voided because they haven't said that yet. But basically what's going to happen is you're going to pick your class, you're going to get to Azaro, not Trial of the Sekma, which I'm pretty happy about. Although, I'll be honest, I've kind of softened on Trial of the Sekma a bit. I wish they would change it, but okay, this isn't about Poe 2. We'll get to some Poe 2 stuff in a moment, though, specifically to players from Poe 2 who definitely didn't like my video as much as the people from Poe 1 did. But that's neither here nor there. What we're talking about is the example they give, play a witch and ascend to become a harbinger. So let's say this is replacing Necromancer, right? When you play Harbinger, first thing you should probably think of are the Harbinger uniques, which come with these summonable Harbingers, which kind of exist next to you, and they just throw a buff on you occasion. I kind of predict we're going to see something like this where you just have these buffs and you can get them in permanence. This one is 10% action speed. I think what is the greater version? And the greater version... Okay, has a much shorter cooldown. Still very good. I would think 10% action speed isn't quite good enough, but maybe it's it's a first on a step to a later one, because 10% action speed is very good. If you don't know how action speed works, it's like it's attack speed, it's cast speed, it's everything, but it's in a separate category. So you multiply it. So if you have 100% increased attack speed, you multiply your attack speed by that value. So 100 would become 110, 200 would become 220, 300 would become 330, etc. over and over again. And this would work with other multipliers like multi-strike, essentially, to kind of make your attacks that much quicker. Or it would also work with spells. It'll work with everything. It will make you move faster in the same way. It will make you... I want to say it makes debuffs run out more quickly as well, because it's inverse to temporal chains. Very, very powerful stat. There's a number of uniques that do things like this, that give you the Summon Harbinger of, well, this is time, but something skill. So a witch that has access to these buffs is very cool. There's lots of other things that Harbingers do, like summon tons of mobs or create proximity shields. They throw some unique attacks at us from time to time. Maybe this is kind of a stretch. I don't even know if they could implement this, but Harbingers don't lose HP from us. They lose HP from their minions dying. So I kind of wonder if they're going to find a way to tie your life to your minion's life, right? That'd make playing Summon Reaper a lot more fun. It's a very exciting thing, and they're going to do that 19 times over, right? 3 Ascendancy classes for every class, and then some replacement for Ascendant, for the Ascendant. Yeah. That's wild. That's a lot of work. This is like actually going to take some hard work, not just implementing, but also conceptualizing it all. And I assume they have a lot done, because the way they talk about it is these were ideas that they actually had. And the coolest thing about it is things they use this for are almost like a beta test for like Ascendancy concepts that could go back into Path of Exile 1 or even into Path of Exile 2. There's a lot there for that. And if you're playing Path of Exile 2 and having a great time, this is open to you as well. You probably hear that and roll your eyes and think, okay, whatever. But no, you got to understand. So I'm here on my character right now, and you can see I have a bunch of MTX from Path of Exile 2 equipped, because when I bought these, specifically the Lord of Agam set and my little Crowbill pet here, wherever he's going, even my portal effect are available, right? All of them. Just, they're in both games. That's kind of a big selling point. A lot of stuff from Path of Exile 1 has not been ported to Path of Exile 2 yet, but everything in Path of Exile 2, as far as I know, has been ported back to Path of Exile 1. That even includes the amazing Lord of Agam sword skin, which you can't even use in Path of Exile 2 right now because swords aren't in the game yet. Probably more importantly, and for like, I'd say enticing, is your tabs that you've purchased for Path of Exile 2 are also going to be in Path of Exile 1. The currency tab here looks a little different because obviously the game is quite a bit more fleshed out, but your currency tab is the same in both games, and they'll be both there. Same with essences, or, well, I don't think divination cards are in. If you have a map tab, it will actually hold maps. This is the equivalent of the Waystone, except you have a dedicated storage tab for it, and this is incredible. This is one of those things I'm surprised they're still not in Path of Exile 2. Fragments, uniques, all the bells and whistles, flasks too, which I didn't have before, gems, etc., delirium. It's all there. It might all be a little bit different, but you have everything you've purchased for Path of Exile 2, generally speaking, is also going to be available in Path of Exile 1, as long as it was, something from the Grinding Gear Games store. And as a little note about Pohx's Private League, actually... Oh, not that. All right, I don't have the tab pulled up because I'm a degenerate idiot who sucks at this. Basically, there's been talk that they're going to raise the cap by about 10,000 free of charge, which is another very good showing of goodwill from the company. This is kind of a big deal because they don't actually know how well it's going to work. The system wasn't designed for more than a 20,000 player cap, so there might be problems and they might have to work on it. They addressed some other things, so if you didn't get into the Pohx League and you really want to, opportunities are coming, and even then, this is probably going to replace it when it comes out anyways. I wouldn't be surprised if this announcement kind of kills the Pohx League. But if you're playing the Pohx League, don't quit just yet, because again, we don't know when this is going to be ready. I imagine this is probably going to come out around the time 3.26 would have, or maybe like a couple weeks after or so, because obviously they're just starting work on this now. But they are actually starting to work on it. It is something that is going to happen, and it's a very cool idea, which again, I'm very happy. And outside of that, I do want to say a couple things, because while I stand by everything in my original video, right, I made those comments, those criticisms, and those claims because I felt a certain way, and I thought about it, and I inferred things, and maybe they were wrong, and I'm okay with them being wrong. And if you hate me for that, that's also just fine. If you want to ask me about a build the next day, I'm not going to take it personally. I think criticism is important and healthy, and the reason why I'm bringing all this up has nothing to do with any of that. I just want to say, because I think I was watching a video, and Zizaran made this point kind of off the cuff, and it was a very good point. I don't want anyone, especially Johnathan himself, to think that I hate him. That's honestly, that kind of punched me in the gut. I was like, oh man, people might think I'm like really ragging on no, I mean, Johnathan is in charge. He made decisions. I'm very critical of those decisions, and I feel like he is doing what he has to achieve his goals, which is his job, right? I understand that's his job. I just feel like the way he's going about it is very wrong. And now that this is happening, I don't even think that. I don't think he's going about it wrong at all. This is what we need in the interim situation where Path of Exile 2 is very resource intensive. They need to do the very efficient things with smaller groups of developers that will keep the Po1 community, you know, kind of, well, not losing their momentum. Because I think Kriparian made a video where he made a point that breaking the league cycle might have further reaching consequences than we really give enough credit to. And that's, I imagine that video might have actually scared someone, but considering how great this idea is, I get the feeling this has been discussed and set up probably immediately after Johnathan's announcement. I trust the company enough to say that they saw the reception, they were like, oh my god, we have to do something now. But yeah, I just want to say, I actually quite like Johnathan. I do. I think he's done an amazing job with so much in Path of Exile 2. Obviously, there's a ton of things I don't agree with, but there's also a lot of things that I can't, like, not rave about. Just the way the combat flows is really nice. The campaign itself is fantastic. I'm sure the Acts 4, 5, and 6 are going to be just as good, if not better. The framework, again, is very good. I think there's an issue where Path of Exile 1 jumped leaps and bounds in terms of player comfort and just, like, quality of life in ways that Johnathan is probably going to be very guarded about approaching. And that's a big part of what I think is going to make Path of Exile 2 take so long to get going. That part I don't actually have any, like, negativity towards. I think that's probably the right thing to do. You want someone who's going to be conservative about that. Granted, having to use a well in town and having 600 different crafting benches to extrapolate value from your items, I think those things are, like, definitely gone. I don't know. I hope he's bending the knee on that already in the background, because what is wrong with like going in here and if I need to do a vendor recipe, I can just go up to someone, and instead of going to a special crafting bench, I can just go here and turn my Orb of Alteration into Wisdoms. Or in the same window, I can disenchant my boots, you know? It all happens right here, and then at the same time, this works like a Herodric cube where you can do recipes that'll activate things. And then also, where is our crafting bench? We really need it. Come on. All right, this isn't supposed to be about Path of Exile 2, although I think everything I just showed is something a Path of Exile 2 player who doesn't know any better is like, yeah, that sounds pretty good, actually. I hope you feel that way, because I think some of those are inevitable. Granted, reinventing the wheel isn't without its merit. You're going to try to do things a little differently because of the decisions you made in the past kind of coming forward again. And just, you know, I wanted to end this on a positive note towards Path of Exile 2, because I think a lot of people, going off the comments that I did read, a lot of people thought I didn't like the game. And it's not that I don't like the game, it's that the game needs work. It needs a lot of work. But when it gets it, I think it's going to be fantastic. And I think it will replace Path of Exile 1 at some point. Assuming they don't just, like, eventually actually merge the games, which I feel like that is also a possibility on the table. It is on the table that they just kind of slowly bring Path of Exile 1 to where Path of Exile 2 is, while keeping the things from Path of Exile 1 that are probably inevitably going to be added to Path of Exile 2 anyways. And then we just kind of ended up, you know, with one fantastic Path of Exile, which was the original plan. And I kind of feel like that's almost like a 9,000 IQ accident where you're like, you created a separate ecosystem to learn things in a vacuum, and now you're going to apply it to make a greater game overall, which in some ways Path of Exile 2 will be that regardless. But I kind of feel like maybe the two separate games thing is actually a bad idea, and it should just be one game. But I'm sure for some people that would be a terrible thing, and you are entitled to that opinion. And if that's true, I hope you get your way, because at the end of the day, none of us really know anything. But we do know that both games are fun. This game is better. If you're a Path of Exile 2 player, is like, no, Path of Exile 1 is not better. Come on. So here in Path of Exile 1, we have these things called life nodes on the tree. See, here's maximum life, maximum life, maximum life. We also have energy shield nodes still, right? But they're smaller. Because in Path of Exile 2, the energy shield nodes got bigger, and all the life nodes got taken out, which is insane. And as long as a bunch of insane things like that still exist in Path of Exile 2, you cannot call Path of Exile 2 the better game. It's just, that's not even close. Those will probably be fixed sooner than anything else, and I really hope so. There's some other things I think that the game really needs, like masteries, where if you have, say, an attack wheel, right? Attack mastery, you can see there's some very powerful nodes here that honestly are incredible. And you'll notice you get to the end of the wheel, and then you can select the mastery, and you have a specific pool of them. You get to choose one, and this is an attack mastery, right? A lot of characters use attacks. You come all the way up here, it's the same attack masteries without you having to run across the whole skill tree to get to them, and that's kind of an ability to express your character in a way that Path of Exile 2 is missing. And I feel like that's just one of those things that didn't carry over the way you would hope, or rather the way us Path of Exile 1 players had hoped, because there's no reason for these things not to be there. They just add depth to the game and give you more options and allow you to make changes and control the game going forward the way you want to, which is always better for a game like this, because it's about having that freedom of expression and ability to do what you want in the game, you know? Anyway, I've rambled for far too long. It's a wonderful day. The company we know and love has shown themselves to be what they've always been. And of course, my biggest apologies to Johnathan and anyone else who thought that I said all of that in like kind of a deliberately mean-spirited way. It was harsh, don't get me wrong, but it was intended to just be criticism. And I cannot emphasize that enough. I don't want anyone to think I hate them. Not because like I feel like I've done something wrong, but because I don't do that. That's kind of just like a bad way to be. It's a bad way to be for me. It's a bad way to be for you. And I just want, you know, the game that I love to get better and to stay getting better. And I think one of the best things about Path of Exile as a community is it is full of people like that. We're just here, no matter how bombastic we are about it, to ensure that the game we know and love stays a game that we know and love. And sometimes we disagree, and plenty of times we're wrong when changes get made. There have been plenty of things I disagreed with in the past that turned out to be great. What happened a week ago was rather extreme and short-sighted. And I think this was an acknowledgement from them on that front. And I think they have very much so made amends, and I think I'm very optimistic. No more thinking. I am optimistic. Have a good one, Exiles.